When you look at a city, what do you really see? The steel skeletons of skyscrapers, the asphalt arteries of highways, the brick and mortar that boxes in our lives. We tend to read a city like a blueprint, a series of engineering decisions made by people in hard hats. But that's not the whole story. A city isn't just a collection of buildings. It's a collision of dreams. To truly understand the American landscape, we have to look beyond the blueprint. We need to peel back the zoning laws and master plans to find the invisible forces that actually poured the foundation. The immigrant. Desperate ambition. The aristocrats' utopian fantasies. The anxiety of the nuclear age. And our insatiable hunger for more. From the rigid morality of a Puritan village to the sprawling freedom of an LA freeway. America's urban evolution is a psychological map of a nation constantly reinventing itself. This is the story of those dreams and how they hardened into concrete. Our story starts before the United States was even a country. In the mind of William Penn, in 1682, London was a nightmare, cramped, fire-prone labyrinth of disease and what he saw as sin. Penn, a Quaker, dreamed of the antidote. He wanted to build more than a settlement in Pennsylvania. He wanted to build a moral compass. He designed Philadelphia as a green country town, laying out a rational, orderly grid. This wasn't just about traffic management. It was theology. The wide streets and public squares were meant to prevent the physical and moral suffocation of Europe. It was the first American dream of control. The idea that if we just organize our space correctly, we can organize our souls. But dreams are fragile. As commerce boomed, the green country town filled with brick row houses. The dream of open space collided with the dream of wealth. Wealth won, density increased, and the American city began its first big shift, from a moral sanctuary to a marketplace. By the late 19th century, the American dream had changed. It wasn't about religious purity anymore. It was about industrial might. This was most visible in Chicago. After the Great Fire of 1871, the city was a blank slate. The dreamers here weren't priests. They were capitalists. And they wanted to squeeze every penny out of every square inch of land. The solution was an audacious defiance of gravity. The skyscraper. This was a huge psychological shift. For thousands of years, the tallest building in any city was the cathedral, the house of God. In America, the tallest buildings became the headquarters for insurance companies and banks. The skyline became a graph of economic ambition. But beneath the rising steel, a darker dream was festering. For millions of immigrants in the tenements of New York and the slaughterhouses of Chicago, the American dream was just a nightmare of survival. They dreamed simply of bread and air. In response, a counter-dream emerged. The City Beautiful movement. Architects like Daniel Burnham believed that neoclassical grandeur could cure social unrest. The thinking was, if you build a train station that looks like a Roman temple, the common person will behave like a noble citizen. It was architecture as a sedative. They built grand civic centers and white marble museums, dreaming that beauty could mask the soot from the factories. As the 20th century dawned, the noise of the city became deafening, and the automobile arrived. Soon, it would dictate American geography. Two opposing visions fought for the future's soul. On one side, the Garden City, a dream of bringing the country into the city. Central Park in New York was the prototype, a manufactured wilderness designed to be the city's lungs. On the other side was the Machine City. The dreamers of the 1920s envisioned cities of pure speed, with multi-level highways and towers, connected by airplanes. This was the dream of efficiency. The friction between these two dreams came to a head in one man, Robert Moses, the master builder of New York. Moses didn't care for the history of neighborhoods. He cared for the flow of traffic. He saw the city as a machine that needed to be optimized. If a highway had to plow through a neighborhood, that neighborhood was just blight to be removed. But he met his match in Jane Jacobs, a woman who dreamed of the ballet of the sidewalk. She realized a city's true power wasn't in its highways, but in its beautiful chaos, the shopkeeper watching the street, the kids playing on the stoop. It was the battle of the blueprint versus the human. After World War II, a new anxiety gripped the nation. The cities were crowded, and the shadow of the atomic bomb loomed large. Returning GIAs didn't want the vertical excitement of the skyscraper. They wanted the horizontal safety of a lawn. Enter William Levitt, and the invention of Levitt. This was the most profound reshaping of the American landscape in history. The dream was standardized. A single-family house, a white picket fence, a driveway, and a clean break from the chaotic, multi-ethnic city. It was a dream of homogeneity and ownership. The government subsidized this dream through the GI Bill and massive highway construction, effectively paying the middle class to abandon the cities. The blueprint was simple. Curve the streets, remove the sidewalks, and separate work from home. But this dream had a cost. It created the commuter, a new kind of human who spent hours in isolation. It drained the lifeblood from downtowns, turning vibrant urban centers into rust belts. The dream of the suburbs was an escape, but for the cities left behind, it was a death sentence. As people moved, the marketplace followed. Main Street was replaced by the shopping mall. The mall was the ultimate controlled environmental privatization of public space. Inside a mall, there's no weather, no protest, no night. It's a dream of eternal consumption in a perfect climate. Ironically, the man who invented the mall, Victor Gruen, wanted them to be community centers with libraries and clinics, a remedy for suburban isolation. Instead, they became temples of consumerism. The American landscape became defined by the strip miles of neon signs connecting one mall to another. The unique character of places began to dissolve. A strip mall in Ohio looked exactly like one in Arizona. The dream of convenience had erased our sense of place. By the 1990s and 2000s, the pendulum began to swing back. The children of the suburbs, bored by the silence of the cul-de-sacs, looked back at the decaying cities their grandparents had fled. They saw value in the decay. Old factories weren't eyesores, they were lofts. Old train tracks weren't blight, they were the High Line. This was the dream of gentrification. It was complex and often painful. It brought money and espresso bars back to the city, but it often displaced the communities that had survived the lean years. Today, we stand on the brink of a new era. The current dream is the smart city landscape, governed by data and sustainability. We dream of vertical forests and autonomous vehicles, but if history teaches us anything, it's that the blueprint is never the whole story. The smart city will be shaped by our anxieties about privacy, our desire for connection, and our fear of the environment we've damaged. Looking back, from Penn's holy grid to the suburban lawn, from the smokestack to the server farm, we see that America wasn't built by bricks alone. It was built by the friction between the individual's desire for freedom and the community's need for order. Our cities are the physical residue of our collective imagination. They are imperfect, chaotic, and constantly under construction, just like the American dream itself. And as long as we keep dreaming of a better way to live, the skyline will never be finished. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, consider liking the video and subscribing for more stories about the world around us. See you next time.